Hello. I'd like to discuss going for a degree that'll never, most likely, make you a dime. Now, you might think I'm crazy, but a lot of your English degrees and history degrees and even math degrees, but make you no money. It's very hard to turn that into a profitable situation. You have to write a book. You have to be a historian. You have to be a mathematician. And if you're anything less than those, you make no money. Like you're an artist and you're not a Picasso or a Rembrandt, you know, you'll be nothing. And philosophers, one thing about philosophy is philosophers live forever through their philosophy. Plato, Socrates. Uh, I wrote a little excerpt that I consider my philosophy, and it's in the post. You can go find it on YouTube. Uh, if you're afraid to change the world, you never will. And I didn't steal that from another philosopher. I didn't plagiarize it. I made that up myself. Um, I didn't put my name on it. Kind of like gone down as anonymous. But that's okay. I'm not looking for credit. But I do want you to know it because I think it's very powerful and it's very true. Uh, so, you know, when you do things for money, like be a lawyer or a doctor, you know, those are professions that a lot of people go into for the money. A lot of them go into it to help people. Lawyers help people, doctors help people. Um, but if it didn't come with the paycheck it comes with, a lot of the lawyers and doctors wouldn't be in that profession. If it was up there with a philosopher or an artist or a musician, you wouldn't find that many doctors on every block or lawyers on every commercial. Because there's real money involved in it. And, they sell themselves that they're helping people, but they're really not. I mean, they're doing it for the money, so they're helping themselves, you know. So I don't know. Just life is not about money, and do what makes you happy. If you're happy drawing, being an artist, maybe you have to do it as a side gig because you got to pay the rent, you got to put gas in the car, but keep doing it, and don't let anybody stop you. Uh, Not because you're going to pay off one day, not because you're going to become famous one day. Van Gogh was not famous when he was alive. He was more famous when he was dead. And that goes for a lot of the artists. Salvador Dali was famous when he was alive. Picasso was famous when he was alive. But that's rare. That's not the run of the mill. The run of the mill is they find your stuff in a garage before they throw it away because you died and realize what it's worth. And then you become famous. But you're already dead, so I don't know how much you'd want that. But that's the way it usually works, you know. So, and the people that made those paintings had a lot of fun making those paintings. They expressed themselves, they let themselves go, they ventured into new areas of art that nobody else would do. If they were under the microscope of a populist opinion, they would never make the art that they were making because it wouldn't have been popular at the time, or acceptable. So, sometimes it's good to be anonymous because you can do things that somebody that's famous can't. And, you know, it's just, you have to do what you love, whether you make money at it or not. If you don't do what you love, you you sacrifice. It's a form of slow death, a horrible, torturous death, because you're doing what, if you're not doing what you love, you're doing what you don't love. And to continue to do that is a slow death of torture. And not only is it horrible for you, the one that's involved in doing it, but you make everybody else around you miserable. They want you to die because you're so miserable, and you don't want that either. So when you're happy and you're doing stuff you love, you're happy and it shows, and the people around you can see it and know it and sense it and feel it, and they treat you better and you treat them better. So it has a cumulative effect, you know. So, when you're miserable, that has a cumulative effect too, but in the opposite way. And, it's just, money should not be the focal point. A lot of people are like, hey, can you make money at it? Don't do it if you can't. Is it going to be successful? Depends on what you determine success to be. If if it brings you joy and happiness, it's successful. No matter what the price or what the money you make. It might cost you money, like I said in one of my last videos. The artist has to buy his canvas, he has to buy his paint, he has to supply a studio to do the art, or a photographer has to buy all the expensive equipment to take the pictures, and has to put himself on the top of a mountain in some far out country that has no roads to take the picture, and they do it out of a love. They don't do it for money, you know. Do they make money? Sure, I'm sure some do, but it's not the goal. The goal is to be remembered. The goal is to create something that nobody else created. The goal is to make yourself proud of yourself, that you climbed that mountain to take that picture, and you have proof with the picture that you did it. So, it's just, happiness comes from within, not from your wallet, not from your uh, title. And most of the people that have those titles and those wallets, they're miserable. They're bored off their face. They're miserable. And even if they're not bored, they're busy, but they're doing what they don't want to do. They're tasked with problems to solve that they could care less about. And, it's just a miserable, miserable existence. And they make everybody else around them miserable. So don't do that. If you like to write, you want to read, you want to learn from reading and understand how reading affects the world, and it does. I mean, we have libraries, city blocks that are the size of libraries, or libraries the size of city blocks, should I say. The Library of Congress, I don't know how many city blocks that is, but, or the library in the Vatican. It's tremendous. So the written word is very important. So, and most of the people that wrote those books in those libraries didn't make a lot of money, you know. And the value of what they wrote is not less because they didn't make the money. It's still valuable, and it's even more valuable because they didn't make the money. The Louvre in Paris, the huge art museum in Paris. They didn't make a lot of money. Those artists, they weren't living high on the hog. They weren't living like Bill Gates. or Elon Musk. They were living like me, poor. But I'm not poor. You see, my wallet is poor. It's negative right now, but I'm not poor. And poor is, and if you're not poor here, and you're not poor here. And no amount of money is going to change that. So, be happy. Make everybody else around you happy. Because when you die, those are the people that are going to go to your funeral and say, he was a great guy. Well, he was a cheap mother upper, and you're lucky you didn't know him the way I did. Stuff like that. So, you know, and I'm not saying people that own a business aren't happy, but it's why they own the business that makes them happy or not. And